Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting today again with Michael Porter. Hello, Michael.
Morning, Robin.
So, Michael, we're going to do some deep seeking today. We had a big wobble on the markets, and NVIDIA, I believe, lost the biggest market capitalization in one day, but it obviously got high. What is Deepseek, and what's all the fuss about?
Robin, Deepseek is basically the Chinese version of ChatGPT. So it's a large language model, basically an AI application tool. And the reason why it caused such shockwaves through the market was that it actually got launched a couple of months ago, but they kind of did the public launch 10 days ago on Sunday. And it's significantly cheaper to run queries and to train it than the American sort of models. Wow. So that's why there was disruptions, because it immediately forced people to ask, well, all the money that Amazon and OpenAI and Microsoft and Google and all the billions that they're spending on AI, are they actually going to get a return on that investment? Or and what's the demand for NVIDIA chips going to be like if you actually don't need such big data centers and things like that? So yes, NVIDIA lost $600 billion on the day, and the largest ever fall, but it was overvalued anyway. So I suppose you've got to take that in context, I suppose. Yes. But actually, I think, Robin, in sort of, analyzing it, and there's a lot of, it's called into question, I suppose, the whole demand for AI, or the AI value chain. But actually, the flip side is that as AI gets cheaper, more and more companies will implement it. So the demand for AI is probably going to accelerate, if anything, rather than decelerate if it becomes cheaper. It's just a question of who spent what, and there's slightly sort of relative winners and losers. But actually, it actually almost validates the market for AI, and actually probably drives further adoption. As things get cheaper, everybody adopts it. So now it's just been the preserve of big companies, and then you can go down to smaller companies who can start running these things. So actually, it's probably quite a good thing. But I think what it does highlight is that, there's been such a momentum trade in tech stocks, hasn't it? NVIDIA has been the thing to own. And if you don't have NVIDIA around your bri, then you're obviously stupid, and, what are you doing? But these things can come out of left field. And when companies are expensive and they're trading on excessive valuations, and there's a really lot of good news baked in that price, you've got to realize that you're at massive risk of something coming out of left field that you don't realize. And I think the world is changing so quickly, and there's so much going on. I've listened to a lot of podcasts on AI in the last couple of weeks, and the chances of something coming out that's disruptive is high, because everybody's tackling the problem from different ways.
So, Michael, we particularly, I think it's a question that we get often. It's like, have you got NVIDIA? Have you got this? And our preference has always been to play those angles from a different route, from a better valuation. So, can you give us an example? Like NVIDIA, we don't own NVIDIA. What do we own typically in portfolios where we look for that kind of thing, and why would we choose that over, say, an NVIDIA?
Yeah, Robin. For argument's sake, we would own Microsoft, which is obviously driving cloud adoption and then rolling out AI within its product suite, and using its cloud and resources to almost sort of to help companies adopt AI. So yes, I suppose it's sort of the picks and shovels at the gold rush. In some ways, NVIDIA is providing the shovels and the stuff that makes AI work. But some of the applications that sit on top of that is where we've chosen to play, and the valuations are just a little bit more sensible, I suppose. And the chip cycle, obviously there's going to be lots of demand for AI, but the chip cycle is also inherently quite volatile. So we've also rather chosen to play it in something like ASML, where they make the machines that make the chips. So regardless of whether it's NVIDIA's chips being made or AMD's or ARM's chips, ASML is invariably supplying the core machinery that actually manufactures these in the first place. So, I think it's a slightly sort of further back in the value chain where valuations are more realistic, and ASML is the only company of its kind in the world. No one else makes these machines. So if there's demand for chips, ultimately it comes back to demand for ASML. Yeah.
So Michael, I mean, maybe it's too early to tell, but it kind of feels to me a bit like AI is going to be a bit like the internet. Maybe everyone's looking for the huge advantage at the moment, and this is the competitive advantage, but this is just going to be, like from the horse to the car. Everyone uses the car, so it's just baked in, and, businesses do that anyway. Is that where we're going?
Yeah, I think so, Robin. I think when you get much wider adoption, that is exactly where you're going. And that doesn't, as you get more adoption, you still need the data centers, you still need the space, you still need the storage, all those kind of things. So I think this is, in some ways, I think that the tech market was always vulnerable to a correction, and you always look back in hindsight and say, well, what was the trigger? So this is almost the trigger for a sort of healthy correction in what is just a very overvalued and heated market and a momentum trade. And so it's actually probably a good thing that everything just settles down a little bit, and a little bit of circumspection comes back into the market, because the more extreme the valuations get, the more risk there is of a complete collapse. So actually, in some ways, to have a correction and for everybody to catch their breath is actually quite a good thing. But yes, you're quite right. The more AI gets adopted, the more ubiquitous will become. Everybody will start using it. But that's obviously because the price gets cheaper, and that's what the Chinese are doing. And it's not to say this, and there's some IP issues and there's some question marks about how they did one or two things. But I think the point is that the cost of AI is going to come down, and that's actually good for AI and the adoption and all the periphery stuff around it. And we've also chosen to play in things like Schneider, which is providing some of the electricity infrastructure to drive these things. So, those kind of shares also came off because maybe there's not as much need for data centers. But actually, in the cold light of day, electricity infrastructure is crumbling around the world, and we see a massive demand for that. So, I think it just gives everybody an opportunity to reassess portfolios and look at things when valuations are slightly more normal and palatable, quite honestly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we've managed to get through one Money Morsel without talking about Trump, so that's fantastic. But
I thought we were going to talk about Trump.
He's definitely around, and he's going to stay around. Michael, thanks for coming and giving us that insight. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.